Well, now that you have a fair idea of what the government will bring to the table, how does this size up to what economists believe should happen? Fidelity's Chief Financial Officer Gowan Bose says several realities should be factored in. For instance, expenditure ought to be in 2 to 3 areas. The first, social benefits.
All of us are going to be feeling hardship and I'm going to say a tightening of the belt, but certainly there are some who will be able to withstand it better than others, and ultimately we have to ensure that the least amongst us is at least protected. The second element is really investing in the future, that there is going to be expenditure for capital developments as well as other elements that are going to reap benefits in the future, either by increased revenue intake or by some form of expenditure efficiency so that we reduce our expenditure in future years. And then finally, we have to focus our attention on that expenditure that is, if you will, going to stimulate economic activity, and how the government is going to use its expenditure in order to create opportunities to grow the economy.
Now, as everyone's heard, the budget will reflect current realities. The most glaring right now, the global pandemic, whose impact, Bose says, cannot be underestimated.
When we speak about COVID-19, what is going to be important is that the budget clearly articulates what is the actual impact of COVID. How is that done? It should be by columnar form. That will be an element of saying, firstly, this is the budget if we were in pre-COVID and normal circumstances. The second column will be, this is the cost of COVID, meaning the revenue reductions that we attribute to COVID, the expenditure increased or otherwise that we attribute to COVID, and then more importantly, what the deficit is that will come about because of revenue losses and expenditure from COVID. We can do the same for Dorian. That would then come to a closing number, which is ultimately the projection that will be the final budget.
As for getting out of present economic circumstances, The Economist says this will require collaboration, the government seeing its role as a facilitator and not provider.
We need to be thinking about investing in our bread and butter, so tourism. We need to be thinking about expanding Bahamian ownership. So when we start thinking about foreign direct investment, we don't necessarily need the foreign direct investor. We need Bahamians who have accumulated savings and wealth to be able to pool that wealth and resources and be major players and contributors in the economic development and growth that we're going to have. The way we're going to get out of this is by actually looking towards the National Development Plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish. And whilst we may have various elements of the National Development Plan being implemented, I would venture to say you cannot be half pregnant, that ultimately you're either in it or you're not. And we need to have commitment to a wider National Development Plan. That would allow us to start focusing on the economy, social aspects, the environment and governance, which were the 4 pillars of the National Development Plan.